Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of the very windy Las Cruces this morning. So good to see all of you. I'm Sarah Benson. This is my husband, Doug, and we're going to start us off with a couple of songs. I invite you to stand if you'd like, or not.
You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God, sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God, sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are blessed peace, blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace, God, blessed peace is all that you are. You are deepest joy is all that you are. You are deepest joy, God, deepest joy is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love, God, sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. Sacred love is all that you are. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. You are my reflection. There is only one.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
Morning.
I really want to say good morning. I am Dorothy from the land of Kansas this morning. My favorite movie, but I really am Teresa Valenzuela from Las Cruces, New Mexico. We are only one. I just have to look at everybody this morning. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces, where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. Welcome to anyone visiting for the first time. Please help yourself to a packet of information. There is a gift certificate in there to our amazingly wonderful, wondrous Wisdom Through the Pages bookstore. And there, please fill out the front form in there with an email to get on our another amazing form of information email newsletter list. And it says here to be sure to read the newsletter. So I used to edit it, but it was suggested I stop doing that. We continue to collect for our spring treasure sale. As you can see, not the piano, and not Bob. Just looking around the room, the sale will be April 20th. Anyone wanting to help price, sort, set up, or work the sale, come in. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday between 10 and 2. I've seen Janice and Kayanne here for many weeks and probably other people, but your help would be much appreciated. We do our best to keep up with the sorting and pricing as things come in. A weekend with Yolanda Martinez is coming up May 3rd and 5th, kicked off by an Ed Breeding documentary about Yolanda's drum-making life. Just an amazing person. She will have a workshop on Saturday the 4th, and on the 5th of May, her weekend will culminate with a drumming session here at our service, doing a drumming circle after service with those that want to participate. If you're interested in making a drum at her drum making workshop, please register with her. You can find her on Facebook, or we can probably help you get to her place to reserve your spot in drum making. Patty Taylor's Celebration of Life Memorial Tea will be Saturday, April 13th. We will gather here at the center at 11 a.m. to carpool down to Deb's, her daughter. They live in Anthony. It's about a 30-minute drive from here. So if you need a ride, please let the center office know. And then on May 11th, Reverend Bonnie Allen Rice's Celebration of Life will begin at 3 p.m. So, and many of these things that we see around here and in our room is social hall is her gift to our center. Our current service project is La Casa Easter Basket Collection donation. So thank you. Some of you have supported that by giving me some money, and I got to go shopping. And our Red Love Wins barrel is out there. They do need everything by tomorrow morning because they start distributing the Easter baskets by Wednesday. If you'd like to help, please see me after service, and we'll figure out the best way to get things here before I deliver all of those Easter goodies to La Casa. And now, drum roll, please. Gretchen. Our board president has a board report. Come on down.
I didn't know what the drum roll was for. Have you ever had a drum roll before? It's pretty exciting. Oh my goodness. I love the humor here. It's wonderful. Because I have a very silly streak, so that includes. Okay, down to business. Let's get serious now. Want to give you some information on the budget. December, we pulled in $13,500. January, $9,000. And in February, $6,000. The tithes from people and the donation people make on Sunday is what really is our base. But then we get supplemented by various events throughout the year. The book study groups, the ed breeding, things like that, and of course, the sale. There's a lot of stuff here. And let me see now, what does this say? Oh, during March, yeah, it's the semi-annual treasure sale. I don't even know what I've written and what it means. And our fiscal year ends in May, and in May we have our annual meeting. And what's the percentage of people we need?
All of them.
That 100% of everybody must be here. There's a certain percentage we need in order to do the business that we need to do. And one of the things that we will be doing is electing a new board. And I've been on the board 3 years, and it's my turn to take a rest. So if you have skills, knowledge, and an inclination to come and join the board, please really think about it. I have found it a growth experience for me, and I'm very grateful. And I will continue to do the art wall and do things that support the center, and it somehow makes me think of the song we sang first, and it had about grace, and that's how I want to live my life. My job right now is to love and to recognize when I'm not in that state of love, and believe it or not, I can be there. So we have tithing for the next 5 months. I can't say this. It's El Calvario. Okay. And Soup Kitchen in March. Is that it?
Oh, El Caldito.
Caldito. Obviously, Spanish is not my first language. Then in May, we will do, in honor of Bonnie Rice, we will tithe to the hospice that cared for her. And she worked there, yes. She worked there, and they cared for her during her transition. In June, we will donate to the SNAP, Spay Neuter Action Program for Animals. And in July, Veterans at Camp Hope. And in August, Mesilla Valley Habitat for Humanity. And just to give a little report on the windows, there's nothing to say. The government moves a little slow, but when we get anything, we will keep everybody informed. But someday, all the windows are going to be replaced. And another announcement is Teresa has volunteered to be the bookstore coordinator. Yay! And also, we have put a lock in the garage for this area that's behind there, because we found some people had been going up there and maybe even staying up there. Something was strange going on, so we just put a lock there so people can't just wander through there. Now, our annual meeting is May 9th at 1 o'clock, 19th after service. So put that on your calendar. It's May 19th on Sunday. Okay, thank you very much. And I appreciate so much the support I've gotten being on the board and working with people, and all the energy that people put into keeping CSL in Las Cruces a lively place to be. So thank you all. And you too, Bob. Bob, he runs this, except when you go out of town.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you all.
Thank you for all you do.
So we believe in the power of prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Please fill out a prayer request, which can be found in the chair back in front of you or in back of you. And share your prayer requests with us. The prayer group, prayer circle meets every Tuesday afternoon. New Thought ministers and practitioners from throughout Las Cruces, we gather on Zoom and we pray with you. And we'd also love to hear how the universe is manifesting the goodness that you are in your life. And so once in that little pocket, there's also a little card where you can share what I call God stories in my house, but how life is showing up in your day-to-day breathing moments. So please fill out. We love to read those at Prayer Circle, and yeah, thank you. And so Also, after service, those of practitioners who are wearing our stoles will be right up here, and we'll do a little short prayer. And I say this, that when we pray together, it's not just about you. It's about shifting ourselves as practitioners into that space, knowing that it is all good and it is all God. And so it blesses my life as it blesses your life and as it blesses the world. So prayer has this global, universal impact. Now it is time for song, silence, and prayer.
Now I let myself have a new beginning. I'm moving on to a brand new life. It's okay for me to step ahead. So I step ahead to my new beginning. Oh yeah, a new beginning. Now I let myself have a new beginning. I'm moving on to a brand new life. It's okay for me to step ahead. So I step ahead to my new beginning. Oh yeah, a new beginning. Now I let myself have a new beginning. I'm moving on to a brand new life. It's okay for me to step ahead. So I step ahead to my new beginning. Oh yeah, a new beginning. It's okay for me to step ahead. So I step ahead to my new beginning. Oh yeah, a new beginning.
And so I ask you all to join me in stepping into that space of gratitude for all that has already been, all that is occurring in this exact moment in which we find ourselves, and all that is yet to come. With grateful hearts, we know that life flows out with ease and grace. Ease and grace. And that there is one divine creative mind, universal, power and love. And that is who we are. That abundance and prosperity, that wisdom, that kindness, that compassion, all flows out of each and every one of us, through love and law. And so knowing that we are that one, that the divine, that universal energy that I am flows in through and around each and every one of us, that we are here to do good and more good. And that as we know that for ourselves, we know that for each and every person around us, and just allowing that love to flow out and radiate around the globe, around the universe. Finding that golden strand. And every day and in this moment, it is all in perfection. And we just say, and so it is. So grateful to be here. The reading. I do have to say that song went right along with this morning's meditation.
It did.
That was not even planned by the human part of us, but that was planned by the universe. I am one of us.
I'm very grateful to the music gods.
Thank you, Sarah. And today's reading is out of the Science of Mind book on page 429. The merciful shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Again, we are confronted with an apparent contradiction. Do the merciful always obtain mercy? From casual observation, it would seem otherwise. But are not many of our observations based on a finite outlook from a limited concept? Can we estimate life from the range of one human experience? If life begins with the cradle and ends with the grave, then are all our hopes not only forlorn, but useless? It is only when the eye views the world as one vast plain, one boundless reach of sky, that it seems truly. The perspective of reality is lost when we view life from the range of a short experience. Jesus saw beyond the veil and estimated life from the great perspective, the long run of the adventure of the soul. He knew that the law of cause and effect takes care of all, and that the meals of God will grind the chaff of unreality from the wheat of the Spirit. What matter if these mills do not do all their grinding while we are clothed in flesh? Did not Jesus know another life which to him was as real as this one? Can we expect in this world to receive full compensation for all our work? Of course not. We are building on an eternal foundation, one that time cannot alter nor experience destroy. A true estimate of real values cannot be built on the shifting sands of time alone. In the long run, the merciful will obtain mercy. In the long run, we shall reap as we have sown. And so it is.
Okay. I picked a funny song for today. I hope you like it. It's called Life-Changing Experiences, which kind of goes with our theme for the month. And it's the question is, how many life-changing experiences will it take before I change my life? I was reading A Course in Miracles this morning. To paraphrase it a little bit, it says that trials are lessons that have come around again, so that we can make a better choice than we made last time. So we could call this life-changing experience, or the theme song for slow learners. I'm sure none of you will relate. Anyway, it's by Sue Riley. I'm getting many mysterious messages from somewhere. They're getting louder, harder to ignore. I guess I better start to pay attention before I get that cosmic 2x4. My friends look at me, they have open mouth expressions. They pat my hand, they try to be so kind. It's pretty clear that something has to give here. I just hope that something's not my mind. Change can be so blissful, but it can also make you cry, cry, cry. Often I don't understand the who, the how, the why. Is there a magic number for the struggle and the strife? How many life-changing experiences will it take before I change my life? The world can whirl around me like a cyclone, but I haven't made it all the way to Oz.
that change can be so blissful, but it can also make you cry, cry, cry. Often I don't understand the who, the how, the why. Is there a magic number for the struggle and the strife? How many life-changing experiences will it take before I change my life?
It's grand to be so karmically connected,
Open to these growth opportunities. There are days I feel like I am living in the land of the frazzled, the home of the frayed. You know that change can be so blissful, but it can also make you cry, cry, cry. Often I don't understand the who, the how, the why. Is there a magic number for the struggle and the strife? How many life-changing experiences will it take before I change my life? How many life-changing experiences will it take before I change my life?
Both songs, perfect in more ways than you know. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center, and my pronouns are she and her. And I want to thank Cheryl for the talk that she gave last week. I was very disappointed I didn't get to be here in person, but I need to thank our tech people, Ken and was here last week, and Bob this week, because they make it possible when we can't be in the room with you to be there on the screen, and that's where I was last week. And I so appreciated that she came into our center one more time. We've missed her a lot. She used to be a practicing practitioner here with us. So, go ahead, put the picture up. And Bob's like, sure, here we are.
I've forgotten everything I know.
Hold on.
I clicked one too many times.
There we go. How many people have read this book, Make Way for Ducklings by Robert McCloskey? Teresa, I imagine you've seen this, haven't you? Yeah, okay. Well, how many of you have ever seen a policeman stop traffic for ducklings before? You have. I was going to say, in Boston, like a big city like this, especially in a big city. And so can you imagine a world where we have the priority and policemen and women have the time to stop traffic for ducklings? And can you imagine a world that values nature in such a way? Well, this was the visual that I had in mind when I thought about this week's talk, because I was thinking about make way for the new. That's what I was picturing, was that policeman there with the whistle, and the fact that you could have that much power to stop something big and scary for something so little and vulnerable. As a child, I loved this book, and I would pore over the illustrations and just look at all the details that were in there. And it spoke to me about priorities. It spoke to me about being able to help those that were meeker or weaker or smaller than I might be. And it spoke to me about the value of the small and the big and how they could work together. And it spoke to me about the power that one person, like a police person, could have if they use their power for good in the world. So can you guess who I identified with? Was it the mama duck, the ducklings, the policeman? All of them, yes. Definitely all of them. And a lot of the times I wanted to be that policeman. I saw myself as being able to stop the big and bad, horrible things that were happening to vulnerable people in the world. I wanted to make the world a safer place. Yeah. And since that time, I have to admit to you, as I've never done before quite in this way, that I'm planning to take a little bigger risk. I know I feel like I take a lot of risks from the platform. I've shared a lot of my inner workings, but today it's going to be a little deeper, a little more. And one of the things that I'm sharing from the platform today could even tread lightly on what some might be perceived as the political. And I was told early on not to do that from the platform. So I am stepping out in a little bit of faith this morning. And these words of Ernest Holmes came to me: faith looks to the invisible, and instead of seeing a void, it fastens its gaze upon a solid reality. And so I'm hoping and praying that this is a solid reality of knowing that if I share this truth of myself, it's okay. It's okay to be honest. And so one of the honest things I need to share is that police person within me hasn't been so big and powerful her whole life. She's actually coward a lot of the time. Coward in fear about how I would be perceived if I let that person out that wanted to be all strong and powerful. And as I got older, I learned about how humans treated other humans. I learned about slavery. I learned about the Holocaust. In fact, I went to the Holocaust Museum in Berlin as an adult. I saw how settlers treated the indigenous peoples of this world because I went to many reservations with my family when we went on camping trips when I was a child. And then later, when I was in college, I saw how people treated people like me, where they were beat and killed. I'm thinking of Matthew Shepard. And in more recent years, I've seen the hate-related shootings, the fear-related shootings that have taken place. And I'm seeing Pat probably thinking in her head, that's enough, Bonnie, stop listing. She stopped me before. So I know none of this is news to you. What is possibly news to you is what has been going on inside me throughout the years that I've been working here at the center. So since 2012, when I started serving here, I have been working really hard at walking that middle ground of staying in a place that avoids the political, that avoids offending anyone, and staying as neutral as I possibly could, open and trying to listen to all sides of what's going on in the world around me, and keeping everything that I do and say from the platform grounded in principle. I didn't want any violence or discord in my personal life, and I certainly didn't want it in the life of those that I love here in this congregation. I didn't want to be the reason that any violence happened within this congregation. So imagine my surprise when at the conference, I heard things being done like they'd never been done before this year. People were speaking boldly from their lived experiences. People were addressing current social issues and concerns. They were speaking frankly about issues of racism, homophobia, transphobia, and other things that were considered political today. And so now I know that it's not the first time I've said those words from the platform. You've heard me say them before. But what I realized this week was that much of who I am and what was important to me as an individual and in my family as I was growing up have now become hot political topics. And I didn't really expect that to be the case. So I want you to know as I share more this morning that my intention is to share my lived experience and an aha that I had this week. And your vote is still your vote. I am not in any way trying to tell you what that should look like. I'm sharing my experience. Thank you, Ernie. So I grew up in Southern California in the 60s and 70s. That tells you a lot right there. I'm so young. And a slogan that I grew up hearing often was "the personal is political." Did anyone else hear that growing up? And so when I was told when I came here, you can't be political, I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to share my personal growth, my experiences, but I can't be political. But I've always heard the personal is political. So it's been a challenge to figure out how to share the personal and not be political. My aunt, who's only 12 years older than me, has been my mentor like a big sister to me. And she literally lived in Berkeley during the bra burning era. And I was aware of what was going on up there. I was a child, I was younger, 12 years younger. But I saw her, along with other strong women, protesting and fighting and demanding equal rights for women in the workplace. And the right not to have to wear skirts to work if they didn't feel comfortable in skirts. That was one of the big issues with AT&T at that time. And she and my parents were strong supporters of civil rights. And I heard their discussions, and I saw their angst when Martin Luther King was killed and when John F. Kennedy was killed. I watched my father cry, and those were the 2 times I saw him cry when I was growing up. I saw women fighting for their right to determine what happened with their body. My mother worked for Planned Parenthood as a volunteer. So that was a good excuse for me when I had boys wanting to do things I didn't want to do. Sorry, my mom works there, can't go there. And my father was a scientist, an oceanographer, who strongly encouraged us and taught us about taking care of this planet, letting us know that global warming was happening way back then before Al Gore made it something that the mainstream heard about or knew about. And education and reading was a cornerstone of my childhood. My father read stories to us every night before we were able to read for ourselves. And he read things that maybe some kids didn't get to have read to them. And so when I came out in 1976, I came out slowly, one parent at a time, but I had parental support. And as I went through life, I earned support where I worked, in the places that I was employed. And I eventually found religious science, and I found that I had support in this spiritual home here. And that I was extremely grateful for. So why am I telling you all this today? And some of you are going, I've already heard this. Why is she telling us this again? Well, this week we began the class, The Mystic Path, and we started reading this book, The Mystic Heart by Wayne Teasdale. And when I was reading in here, I had a bunch of feelings start to come up. And I had to look at them, and those feelings brought about an aha, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. This man, was part of the, he was on the board of trustees for the Parliament of World Religions. And he said, I'm just going to read a little bit, but there's a lot in here that he said that sparked some of these feelings for me. He talks about inter-spirituality, and he said the real religion of humankind can be said to be spirituality itself, because mystical spirituality is the origin of all world religions. We may also say that inter-spirituality is the religion of the 3rd millennium. Inter-spirituality is the foundation that can prepare the way for a planet-wide enlightened culture and a continuing community among the religions that is substantial, vital, and creative. And sorry, need some water. I thought I heard somebody. So he talks about what that global world looks like. I'm not going to read all that I had planned because it's hard to keep going with this. But he talks about compassion and love, and that inter means openness to learn from others and the wisdom of their traditions. It is a trust in what will be found in the conscious assimilation of whatever is valuable to aid one's own journey. It's not a one-way street, so it's not us going out and converting others. It's a two-way street where we get to learn back and forth and intermingle and find new habitats for our spirituality. He said it's an important aspect of what the Dalai Lama calls our universal responsibility to the global community of the earth, a responsibility that is both individual and collective. And so I read that, and I realized as I was reading for class that in the back of my mind I was going, when did he write this? He's awfully optimistic. He wrote it in 1999, and then the aha, hit me like a ton of bricks because I realized that I used to have that level of hope. Sorry. And I realized I had lost that level of hope. I had believed years ago when I got into this movement that we were on the verge of realizing that world that works for everyone. I had believed that how we thought about being open to everyone and loving everyone and having a space that was safe for everyone was spreading out into the larger communities. I had believed that we were on the verge of that global awakening. And then something happened, and it seemed to happen so fast, and I kind of felt blindsided by it. The news no longer had to be fact-checked before it was shared, so all kinds of things were put out there that weren't even true, and people started believing them. Greatness became defined as a time before women and people of color and people with disabilities had rights. And then all of a sudden the world shut down. We were in a pandemic. We didn't even get to see each other anymore, face to face. And despite that, my son was up there in Albuquerque fighting for justice for people of color. He was a person of color. He was in the streets. People filled the streets with George Floyd in that situation that happened. He was fighting for policemen to wear body cams to protect themselves as well as the people that they were interacting with. And I started to feel at that time that what we started in the 60s and 70s, that torch was being passed to the next generation. And I had some hope that maybe we were going to see this happen even in the midst of a pandemic. And then my son died. And you know that. And I felt that sucker punch to the gut. And I realized that my faith and my hope kind of went down with him. It felt like it died with him that day. And then last week I started reading The Mystic Heart. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And I remembered last week how I felt, what that hope had been like. And I realized that it came on the heels of going to the conference. And that little flicker of hope started to get fanned there at the conference. And one of the things that's been boggling my mind here of late is that even education and reading is taking a hit. I recently saw a list of banned books, and I was shocked because most of those books I was assigned in high school. I think most of us read and were assigned in high school. And I thought, what is happening? So there's a part of me that's been screaming that. What is happening? What is happening to that vision that we've had? What is happening to that world that we saw working for everyone? And as I was screaming that in my head, and I've been screaming it for a while, I realized and started to remember what it felt to be hopeful as I read this book and as I came out of the conference. And this passage came to light again. It's Ernest Holmes from the Science of Mind text. If it were not for the divine hope in us, our experiences would be more than the human mind could handle. And I thought, how true that is. Sometimes it feels like what's going on is more than this human mind can handle. And yet I realize that somewhere in me is still that sense of divine hope. And I'm beginning, I keep saying that, but each time it's a little bit more. I'm beginning to feel like I'm waking up after being knocked down with that sucker punch that happened almost 3 years ago now, I think. I'm feeling that glimmer of divine hope within me, and it started at the conference because what I saw there was a discussion around those things that I think are important to have a discussion around. They chose to have the conference in Charleston, South Carolina, after much thought and deliberation, because many people, many organizations that were planning to have conferences there pulled out when certain legislation took place, because they didn't want to support that legislation. Our leadership council and the planners of the conference met and prayed over it and talked about it and decided we needed to take our love there. We needed to take our light there. Instead of pulling out, they went ahead of the conference and they did one-on-one work with the people that worked in the hotels, that worked in the restaurants around where we were going to be, and they talked to them about who we were, that we have gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered people that would be showing up, and would they be safe? Would they be treated right? And they got the assurance that we would be welcomed there. And so it was determined, that's why I wore the t-shirt last time, that we would bring our love into this place, have the one-on-one discussions with the people as they showed up, the people who worked for us, served us, whatever, any chance we had to bring love and light into that community. And so that's when I had another aha as I was thinking through all this week. Because I have seen peaceful demonstrations. I have seen sit-ins. Many of us have seen it on the news. We know sometimes what happens to demonstrators. We've seen the fire hoses, the police dogs. We've seen all that hoopla that they show us. And what I realized is that the movement that's happening within our centers is coming at it from a different angle. We're setting a real strong intention to move from a place of love. And it feels different. It looks different to me. It's not just, maybe there'll be demonstrations, I don't know, but it's more about let's bring love into conversation with people and places that appear different than us. And it's a level of love that's been committed to that makes me feel that glimmer of divine hope. Because it's a different approach. It's a recognition that how people on all sides are feeling has validity. We need to recognize, connect with, share with, and bring love into the situation in any way that we can. That being the only way to bring about change. So there's a solid intention for love that's being set in our movement right now. A solid agreement to do the hard inner work so we are better prepared to bring love into a situation and not shift into fear or hate or whatever else we might have as a knee-jerk reaction. And to do that hard work inward and then do the hard work between us and other people. And so as the universe does, a Facebook post showed up that completely supported this aha that I'd had. Maybe this is how we're doing it differently this time. Because I was starting to feel like, oh, same old, here we go again kind of thing. This is from Richard Rohr. Justice without love is legalism. Faith without love is ideology. Hope without love is self-centeredness. Forgiveness without love is self-abasement. Fortitude without love is recklessness. Generosity without love is extravagance. Care without love is merely duty. Fidelity without love is servitude. Every virtue is an expression of love. No virtue is really a virtue unless it is permeated with or informed by love. And so I thought, wow, things are shifting. I'm hoping and praying things are shifting. And that we are moving and continue to stand in love, no matter what it looks like and what's going on out there. So that conference did rekindle and start fanning that divine flame of hope in me. And I'm trying to share with you as much of it as I can and hope that it kind of spreads out there because our global vision is still being held. People are still working toward it. Our movement is still seeing that as the world that works for all, and we are walking toward that as best we can. And so, even though in our reading it said we might not see it in our lifetime, we're still working toward it. And this was the end of that reading, what Ernest Holmes said. Was a true estimate of real values cannot be built on the shifting sands of time alone. In the long run, the merciful will obtain mercy. In the long run, we shall reap what we sow. And so I started thinking again, what am I sowing? How do I stand back up, stand in love, and start sowing love again? And so there's nothing for me that brings about that great sense of hope and faith than music. Music is an amazing thing, and I'm grateful to Sarah and Doug, for Sarah especially, all the work you put into learning new songs, because there's a way that music kindles that feeling of hope and love. And one of the things that we had at the conference really inspired in me, because this music comes out of the hearts of people who were enslaved along the eastern coast there and into the south. And I talked about it 2 weeks ago, the Gullah Geechee community and values in music. So I'm going to do something we don't usually do, and I'm going to share some snippets of the concert that we got to have with them. And that's going to be our second special music of the morning. And you're invited, if you feel so inclined, when it's time, to stand up and clap and sing along, because they encouraged us and the energy was just wonderful. But I hope you enjoy this snippet that I'm going to share with you, because to me, this is an example of how hope rises out of adversity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Charleston. Welcome to Charleston. We are the Gullah Geechee Chorus, and some of the songs that we're going to do tonight, I will walk you through them, because if I don't, you will not understand the language. And the love of music comes from the communication piece. So when you understand the language, we can appreciate the songs together. One of the songs that we're going to do tonight is certainly following the Gullah Geechee culture. So it's a lot of call and response. And so when the leader sings one thing, the choir and the audience responds. So it's called call and response. And so one of the types of songs that we like to do here in the Low Country are when we have homegoing services, funeral services, celebration services. They're big for us in the Low Country. And so one of the songs that you will hear here in the Low Country, it talks about the rest that we will have once we pass away. But the Gullah Geechee people say, "Sit down, servant." And the response is, "Sit down." And the leader says, "Sit down, servant." And the response is, "Sit down." The leader says, "Sit down, servant." The choir says, "Sit down." And the tagline is, "Sit down and rest a little while." Okay? All right, now in the Gullah Geechee culture, we do a lot of clapping and syncopation, okay? Now, we do a single clap, just a single clap, right? And once we really start to feel it, now there's not a time where we say, okay, it's time to feel it. It's time to double clap, right? You just kind of know when it's time, right? Yeah, as in other intimate moments in our life, right? We don't have to make an announcement, right? You just kind of know when you feel when it's time, right? So once we start, yeah. So if you've been to Africa or Jamaica or Trinidad, the sound will start to be familiar to you. So here it is, the Gullah Geechee chorale. Sit down, servant. Sit down. Sit down, servant. Sit down. Oh, sit down, servant. Sit down. Sit down and rest. Rest a little while. Well, I know you're tired. Sit down. Oh, I know you're tired. Sit down. Oh, I know you're tired. Of celebration that we sing to homegoing services, they're all talking about what a joyous time it's going to be. And so the next song says, trouble will be over. The response is, amen. Trouble will be over. You say, amen. I say, trouble will be over. You say, amen. And we have a tagline, right? Call, response, call, response, call, response, tagline. Okay? That's the form of most of the Gullah Geechee songs. Okay? Trouble will be over. Trouble will be over. Trouble will be over when I see Jesus. Trouble will be over. Trouble will be over. Amen. Trouble will be over. Amen. Trouble will be over when I see Jesus. Trouble will be over. Amen. Oh, trouble will be over. Amen. Yes, trouble will be.
So now, make way for the new. Easter is coming, a modern-day Easter. So let's use our power for good. And so it is.